Football Manager is a game so deep that you could never know all of it, which is why you don't know these 10 things. The first one, if you go to tactics, right over here, you go to set pieces, right over there, and then you go to preview options. You click this little drop down. Well, there's a preview with your current starting 11 available that will show you exactly what your set piece tactic's going to look like with these selected players. Like I've got my boy Paul McIntosh taking the set piece. These are the aerial threats, specifically these two guys on the near post, this guy lurking far post, this guy going forward. And let's say I wanted to change that. You probably already know how to do that, but I can go into aerial threats and re-rank these guys if I want Mickey Van de Ven ahead of Gonzalo Inacio, which I feel like I actually kind of do. And then I would click yes, take control, but I don't want to do that because I'm scared. And my set piece coach generally does a pretty good job. But if you ever wanted a quick way to visualize everything, it's right there. And I have 9 more things for you that you did not know were in Football Manager. And I can guarantee you that even if you're one of those people that's like, I know everything, you will be surprised by at least one of these. And for whatever reason, if you're not, you can come in stream and I will literally high-five you through the camera. It's possible now. New proprietary technology. Watch out! The second thing you didn't know is in Football Manager is in the Development Center. If you go to the Development Center and click on loans, you don't just get numbers. They'll tell you how the player is playing in the actual system. This is your loan manager, or my loan manager, Frederick Hansen. You can't have him, but he tells me that he's struggling for playing time, which sucks, obviously, and he's not performing well, even after Oxford United's style of play changed to more closely match the one adopted by Tottenham. Then they'll give you other sorts of feedback that's good, like playing regularly enough for us to be happy, but not performing well, so they're just playing him a lot and he still sucks, which sucks for them, but is great for me. There is, of course, the more normal stuff you probably knew was already available, like the fact that he is slightly unhappy with his current loan. This is also the space where you're able to check on the loan happiness of players who have loaned in. And Echo Romo I have loaned in from Newcastle, and he's very happy, which is nice. But this sort of feedback that he's playing regularly enough to be happy and pleased to be playing as a left back can be really important to understand how to loan your players out in the future, because you want them to be happy, darn it. Isn't that just the whole point of life? Because it's definitely not the point of Football Manager. The third thing you didn't know was in Football Manager, you can see your press conferences. Not even yours, actually. If you go to home and you're on your own manager's profile, you can go to My History and Press Conferences. Now, I don't do my press conferences, but I still have a detailed log of every single answer that my assistant is giving in every single one of the press conferences. Out of everything on this list, I cannot for the life of me think of an actual use for this, other than if like a player gets upset because of something your assistant said in a press conference, you can find that specific press conference, click through the questions, or specifically find which one, even see the media source that asked it, and see how your assistant coach chose to answer in every single press conference. If you still do your own press conferences, then this is just a memory test for you. But even if you don't, that information, amazingly, is still all available, down to the location the press conference is being held at. Again, that's an exceptionally pointless thing. But did you know it? Did you know it was there? Be honest. Be honest. The fourth thing you didn't know is in Football Manager. Your staff advice is not just consigned to the staff meeting. And it's pretty obvious, but for some reason, I never noticed it until very recently. Let's use an example. Let's go to Luka Jash, right? In Luka Jash, there is this little bubble over here that pops up and says, new advice, high potential player. By the way, this dude has high potential. Obviously, that's a useless piece of advice. I already know that. That's the only reason I signed him, but there's more useful advice as well. If I go to Joshua Katsidlo, there's 4 different pieces of advice that are popping up in the top right. If I'm looking at a player and I don't really know how to do his training, or maybe I didn't think about adding him to a mentoring group, I don't have to wait or get lucky enough for that to be in the top 3 things that the staff presents me on the monthly meeting. It's just here. The staff is telling me, put him in this mentoring group, send him to the U21s. He also has high potential. Fair enough. And if you go to your overall squad section, there's just going to be another collection of advice. It's going to be more like a staff meeting because it will, filter to the top 3 options, but it's still going to give you an amount of advice that's helpful. It really is just a testament to how blind I am, or maybe we all are, that I never noticed the fact that this staff advice was popping up in the right corner every time I looked at a player. The fifth thing you didn't know was in Football Manager. If you go to schedule in the top left, there is an entirely customizable set of views, just like the squad view or the player search view or any other view in the game. There's already a preset one to show you all of the goal scorers in any match, so if you wanted to go find a particularly nice goal, that's cool too. But if you go to customize, there are a ton of useful options that can help you actually be better at the game here. For example, you can add your formation in the opposition formation that was played in every single match. And when we extend that out a little bit, this is an incredibly useful piece of information if I'm looking to say, I don't know, replicate a result that I had against a previous team, or see what opponents like to play against me to better educate myself at how I should be building my tactic in the first place. Like if we narrow that filter down to the Premier League, I can see every Premier League tactic that I faced over the course of the entire season and use that, like let's say if I highlight just the big 6 teams, I can use that to educate myself at how teams are playing against me over the course of the year. The 6th thing you didn't know was still in Football Manager is if you go to scouting and then you have your old recruitment focuses, this is where a bunch of people spend a lot of their time. But if you go to scouting coverage and scouting assignments, it will actually inform you about which scouts are doing something and which aren't. Now, this is very useful if, like me, you allow your scouting pool to just kind of assign scouts to the various tasks and you don't assign them yourself. This will tell you how many scouts you have left over to potentially be assigned to another recruitment focus. This is also the area where you have the opportunity to look at world knowledge and do it by region or nation to determine where your gaps in knowledge might be. Like me, I probably should find somebody that understands Peru, for example, or Scotland, because I'm in England. Like you can just get on a train, dude, whatever. And this isn't the main point, but there's also the match team and analysis in here, which is where you're able to tell specific scout to scout your next opponent. And you can start scouting specific teams way in advance if you want to start preparing for a big Champions League or Cup fixture that's a ways off. The 7th thing you did not know was in Football Manager, something that I'm actually going to use when it comes to figuring out who can play what position. You go to the squad planner, which is something that I've made a very passionate habit of never doing, but then you go to the experience matrix, which is something I knew existed, nice and pretty colors telling me that I have a bunch of wonder kids on my team. But if you go to the position view, this is actually a very useful way to see different players that can play in the different positions on your team and educate yourself about where you maybe need to sign a wonder kid and where you might need just a little bit of experience on your team. It's also color-coded to show players that are important based off the amount of playing time you're giving them and players that are squad depth options based off their playing time. The 8th thing you didn't know is in Football Manager. If you go to Data Hub, which I admittedly do not use nearly enough, you can go to matches and last 5 matches and get a detailed report about what went wrong for you or right for you in those last 5 matches according to your analysis team. It's of course only available if you actually have analysts in the game, so if you're running semi-pro non-league, this is not going to be something you can do. You might have already known this was here, but what you might not have known is that if you click on the various things, it will actually show you the trends. One of the key trends for me over the last 5 matches is that 131 of 244 occasions in which we've allowed the opposition into the attacking third of the pitch to come from central positions. And we can see where the issues are and where these passes are being directed to advance the ball through us. I clearly have an issue in the tactic I'm currently running and being able to take away direct passes that are coming up the middle of the field. Because over half the time the ball is advanced, it is advanced through the center third of the pitch, and oftentimes those passes are connecting directly with the front line, which is a problem. Sometimes this section will even recommend changes, like perhaps a higher defensive line. We've conceded 1 of 12 shot attempts from outside the penalty area. And if you're ever wondering what the heck this is, you can just hover over it and it will tell you the minute and who scored the goal. And then you can click on that person and lament the fact that they only have 12 long shots. Also, this is like edge of the area. Harsh to say that's outside the box, you know. The positive side is also incredibly helpful because I can see that on 134 of 320 occasions, we've moved into the attacking third from central positions. But I can also, you see the difference here. All of those passes are going out wide. The way we're progressing the ball essentially is to pass it out to a wing player from a central position. So that's important to understand how your tactic is actually working. And if there's one outlier, like I said, just want to remove the one loss that I had, you can untick from the top. Before we get into number 9, I have started a podcast with Julian Gressel, who plays for Inter Miami. It's been a lot of fun talking to him about what it's like to play with Messi and Suarez and all them. It's called Player Manager, which is incredibly flattering to me, and I'll put the link at the top of the description if you want to check it out. It's wherever you get your podcasts. We are 3 episodes in, but we've already learned that Luis Suarez is as addicted to Football Manager as any of us, which is cool. The 9th thing you didn't know you could do in Football Manager. If you go to Tactics and then you go to Player, you can obviously preset player instructions, but what you probably didn't know is that that is just for this specific player in that position. Now, obviously, you can personalize it or try and make it position-based, but you can also go over here where it says Instructions For and click on Position and then set instructions actually for the whole position. You can also cycle through literally every player in your entire team, including players that are on trial, and set personalized instructions for them if they're in that position. It's also another cool way to figure out who can play what position, and if they do have personalized instructions, it pops up with this fancy little thing over here. Except his personalized instruction is literally just having a different role in the position, which is something you can also set on this screen. And if you have multiple tactics, like any good connoisseur, and you want to switch between those tactics, like I want to go from the sauce to bread and butter, then I can switch that tactic, switch to a different position, position, and, set up every instruction, all to be upheld throughout the course of the season right here without having to leave this screen. If you plan on playing somebody out of position, you can even go to the bottom and add another player from your team. Like, Doeg's competent at this. I'll just go ahead and add him to this list. And the 10th thing you didn't know is in Football Manager, Quick Pick. No, I mean, I never really use Quick Pick, but there is this arrow over here. And I've used and talked about this sort of stuff a little bit before. But there is actually a button now where it says Pick Roles and Duties, which allows you to reassess how you're assigning the roles to your various players in your current team. When you click it, it actually changes the roles of the players to what your staff would be doing. Jarrell Hato turned into an inverted fullback. We got a couple of ball winners, a shadow striker, an very attacking midfield. Things are getting crazy, and that's a good recommendation. But maybe I don't like it. I can click undo and it goes back. And just in case this drop-down window was already the crazy thing you didn't know about, you can rotate your squad, like full rotation, more rotation, slight rotation. You can save squad selections, so if you rotate for a cup match, but you want to immediately yeet your whole first team back into place, you can do that. Or if it is a cup match, you can literally click Pick Youth Prospects, and it will rotate the entire team and put a bunch of youngsters in. There's actually a whole screen called Quick Pick Settings where you can change what the Quick Pick actually does, like sort by age or minutes played in a previous match, overall physical condition. You can lower it if you want to raise that threshold, or raise it if you want to rotate more, and match sharpness. You can allow players that aren't match sharp to get in there. You can even limit players by player importance. Let's say I don't want anybody over a squad player to get in with the Quick Pick. I can do that. I just did that. I don't want that though. Those are the 10 things, but I have an 11th for you. If you want to keep watching videos, this one's about how the star ratings are lying to you, and it was way worse than I thought it was. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe. I'll see you on stream. Have a good day. I hope we all learned something. And we could learn more. Ooh. Well, I'll do it. Just kidding. I've already seen it.